If you're tired of diets that don't work, listen to this: your body doesn't even start burning fat until hour 12 of not eating. Most people quit right before the magic happens. Here's exactly what happens inside your body, hour by hour, from the moment you stop eating to hour 18, and why almost nobody makes it far enough to feel the good part. By the time we get to the end of this, you'll understand your own body better than most people who've been dieting 4 years. Hour 1 to 2, digestion in full swing. Right after your last meal, your body is still in processing mode. Food is moving through your stomach into your small intestine, and glucose, sugar from that meal, is flooding into your bloodstream. Your pancreas releases insulin to usher that glucose into your cells for energy, or to store the extra as glycogen in your liver and muscles. Blood sugar is at its highest point right now. You feel satisfied, maybe even a little sluggish. That's completely normal. Nothing related to fasting has started yet. Your body is just running on the meal you gave it. This is also the phase where your body is technically in fed state, the opposite of the fasted state we're building toward. Every system is oriented around storage, not release. If you checked your blood work right now, you'd see insulin near its daily peak. This matters later, because everything that happens over the next 16 hours is really just this number slowly coming back down. Hour 2 to 4, the peak comes down. Blood sugar starts to level off and slowly decline. Insulin follows it down. Your body is still primarily using glucose for fuel, but that just ate surge is fading. This is usually a comfortable stretch. Most people don't even notice they're fasting here, because this window happens naturally between any 2 meals of the day. If you eat breakfast at 8 a.m., this is basically the gap before lunch. Think about how many times you've unknowingly gone through this exact window without a second thought. There's no discomfort, no willpower required. Your body handles this stage completely on autopilot. That's worth remembering later, when the idea of 18 hours starts to feel intimidating. You've already fasted for 2 to 4 hours thousands of times in your life without even labeling it as fasting. Hour 4 to 6, tapping the reserves. By hour 4 to 6, most of the glucose from your last meal has been used or stored. Your body starts pulling from glycogen, the backup sugar stored in your liver and, to a lesser extent, your muscles, to keep blood sugar stable. Insulin continues dropping. This matters because insulin is a storage hormone. As long as it's high, your body is focused on storing fat, not releasing it. As insulin falls, the door to fat burning slowly starts to open, even though it's not walking through yet. Your liver holds somewhere around 400 to 500 calories worth of glycogen on a typical day, and this is the stage where that reserve tank really starts getting tapped. You won't feel it directly, but internally, your body is quietly shifting its priorities, from what do I do with this meal, to how do I keep things running until the next one. Hour 6 to 8, the quiet before the shift. Glycogen reserves keep being drawn down. Blood sugar is now closer to a steady baseline rather than a post-meal spike. Most people feel completely normal here, maybe a little hungry in a "it's about time to eat" way, but nothing intense. Your body is essentially running on fumes from your last meal while quietly preparing its backup fuel system. This is the calm before the real transition begins. If you've ever slept through the night and woken up around the 8-hour mark without eating, you've already experienced this stage too. It's mild, it's manageable, and honestly, most people who fail at fasting never even struggle here. The real test doesn't start until a couple hours later. Hour 8 to 10, hunger shows up. This is where things start to feel different. Glycogen stores are dropping toward the lower end. Glucagon, the hormone that opposes insulin, starts rising, signaling the liver to release more stored sugar and begin looking toward fat as a backup source. This is also when the first real hunger pangs tend to hit, the kind that makes you think about food even when you're busy. That's not your body starving. It's a hormonal signal, largely driven by ghrelin, your hunger hormone, spiking in a wave. Here's the key thing almost nobody explains: ghrelin comes in waves, not a constant climb. If you push through this 20 to 30 minute wave, it actually passes. This is honestly the psychological turning point of the entire fast. Not because anything dangerous is happening, it's not, but because this is where most people convince themselves something is wrong. They feel a stomach growl, assume it means starvation mode, and go make a sandwich. In reality, that growl is just ghrelin doing its job, and it will settle down on its own within half an hour if you simply let it. Drinking water or black coffee here can take the edge off almost immediately. Hour 10 to 12, the last stretch of glycogen. Your liver's glycogen reserves are now running quite low. Think of it like a phone sitting around 15 to 20% battery. Blood sugar and insulin are both near their lowest point of the day. Your body knows food isn't coming, and it starts seriously ramping up preparation to switch fuel sources. This is genuinely the hardest stretch for most people. Hunger can feel a bit more persistent, and mental focus might dip slightly as your brain adjusts to a fuel source in transition. This is also, statistically, where most people give up. Which is a shame, because they're about 2 hours from the entire experience changing. It's worth naming what's actually happening here. Your body isn't malfunctioning, it's negotiating. Glucose is getting scarce, fat hasn't fully kicked in yet, and there's a brief awkward gap where neither system is running at full strength. That gap is uncomfortable, but it's also short, and understanding that it's temporary is often the difference between someone who pushes through and someone who quits at hour 11 without ever knowing what came next. Hour 12 to 14, the switch flips. Somewhere around hour 12, your body crosses a real threshold. Glycogen is essentially depleted, so your liver starts breaking down stored fat through a process called lipolysis, releasing fatty acids into your bloodstream. Your liver converts a portion of those fatty acids into ketones, an alternative fuel your brain and muscles can run on almost as efficiently as glucose. This is the fuel switch moment. You go from a body burning sugar to a body actively burning stored fat. And here's the part that surprises people: hunger often doesn't get worse here. It frequently gets better. As ketones rise, appetite hormones shift, and that gnawing hour 10 hunger tends to soften into something much more manageable, sometimes disappearing almost entirely. This is the exact window that separates a 16-hour fast from an 18-hour fast. Someone stopping at hour 16 gets a small taste of this fat-burning state. Someone who keeps going gets to actually live in it for a while, and that's a meaningfully different experience than just brushing past it. Hour 14 to 16, stable fat burning. By this window, ketone production is ramping up and becoming a more reliable fuel source. Growth hormone also starts rising here. It plays a role in protecting lean muscle while your body continues pulling energy from fat stores, so you're not burning through muscle to survive, you're burning stored fat. Many people describe this stretch as surprisingly comfortable, steadier energy, less mental fog than they expected, and hunger that comes and goes in mild waves rather than a constant pull. Your body has essentially adapted to running on a different fuel, and it shows. There's often a noticeable mood shift here too, less irritability, more evenness. Part of that comes from stable blood sugar. Without the usual roller coaster of a post-meal spike and crash, your energy just holds steady instead of swinging up and down throughout the day. This is usually the point where people start to understand why others talk about fasting as clarifying rather than depleting. Hour 16 to 18, the cleanup phase. This is the stretch almost nobody talks about, because almost nobody fasts long enough to get here. Past hour 16, your body starts ramping up autophagy, literally self-eating, at the cellular level. Your cells begin breaking down and recycling damaged or dysfunctional components, old proteins, worn-out cell parts, material that's been sitting around accumulating. Research suggests this process becomes meaningfully more active as you move from 16 toward 18 hours. This is also frequently when people report the sharpest mental clarity of the entire fast. Ketones are steady, insulin is at its lowest point of the day, and this cellular housekeeping process is in full swing. A lot of people describe it as one of the most focused, clear-headed stretches of their day, no crash, no fog, just steady output. By hour 18, you've moved through every major phase: digestion, glycogen use, the hunger wave transition, the fuel switch into fat burning, and now cellular cleanup.